she endorsed Biden last time in 2020, and it helped him gain some votes. And when she told people a few years ago, "Hey, register to vote," thousands of people registered to vote. And so she is a cross-cultural phenomenon, and a lot of people look up to her. And being the top celebrity in the world, people tend to follow what she says.
Election 2024. The United States of America. And they are headed to the polls in Pennsylvania today for the 2024 primary there. And Daniel Lippman is White House and Washington reporter for Politico and guide of all things America for us, often on the show. Hi, Daniel.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So tell us about, what do we need to know about Pennsylvania and why it's important?
So Pennsylvania is one of the important swing states that will determine whether Joe Biden is going to win in November. And so it will be interesting to see how many Democrats show up to the polls in their primaries today, because he has seen a lot of disaffected voters from his base kind of drop off because of Gaza, because of his age. And it's also the state of the center for a top Senate race that will determine control of the U.S. Senate between Bob Casey, the longtime senator from Pennsylvania, a Democrat, versus Dave McCormick, who is a hedge fund executive but lives in Pittsburgh.
And what does Pennsylvania then tell us about the rest of America? Is it a sort of state that is up for grabs? I mean, I suppose to some extent, because we know what's going to happen. Joe Biden and Donald Trump will emerge victorious at both of these, but it gives us a sense of the enthusiasm for them.
It does. It has. I'm here in Philadelphia, so that it's a very urban city in terms of a lot of minorities and black voters live in Philadelphia. But then the rest of the state can feel has some suburbs, but also a lot of rural areas where energy is a big issue. And so the fact that Biden has put on a pause for liquefied natural gas has not been very welcomed in those parts of Pennsylvania. And so it can feel like a very southern state with, in terms of the West, because it's socially conservative, it's fiscally conservative, it's, they are not fans of the big city, and so it almost can feel like Alabama the further west you get in Pennsylvania.
Now, the big question, of course, is because it's Taylor Swift's home state. Joe Biden has been pretty openly courting her endorsement, but nothing so far. What are people saying about Taylor Swift?
Well, she endorsed Biden last time in 2020, and it helped him gain some votes. And when she told people a few years ago, "Hey, register to vote," thousands of people registered to vote. And so she is a cross-cultural phenomenon, and a lot of people look up to her. And being the top celebrity in the world, people tend to follow what she says. And so I think she is probably waiting to give her endorsement when it actually will matter. So not in April, but more in October or September, when people are starting to pay more attention to the presidential race.
When they're sort of tuning in. I suppose, lots to talk about about the White House, but we should probably talk about Donald Trump at the courthouse. He was pretty rambunctious, I suppose, is one way of putting it, on the stand on the first day of the Stormy Daniels hush money trial. Let's listen to what Donald Trump's been saying.
This is a witch hunt, and it's a shame, and it comes out of Washington. It's in coordination with Washington, everything, including the DA's office. It's in coordination with Washington. I just want people to understand that this is done for purposes of hurting the opponent of the worst president in the history of our country. Second of all, we have another trial going on right now. That's Letitia James. She campaigned on the fact that I will get Trump. I'm going to get Trump. And it has to do with a bond of $175 million. First of all, she doesn't want me to participate with financial companies in New York. So we have a company, I guess, based in California. It's a bonding company. And I put up $175 million in cash. But she says the bonding company is not good. She doesn't like the bonding company because she doesn't know if the collateral is good. and I put up 175 million in cash, and she's questioning the bonding company. Well, when you put up cash and the number is 175, which is what we're supposed to be putting up, but I give it in cash, she shouldn't be complaining about the bonding company. The bonding company would be good for it because I put up the money, and I have plenty of money to put up, but nobody is going to be putting up with this. Nobody is going to be listening or coming to New York anymore. Businesses are going to be fleeing because people are treated so badly. It's got to be the most unfriendly place to do business, and that's why businesses are leaving and people are leaving as migrants come in and take over our parks and our schools and everything else. So on the Letitia James case, she's the worst attorney general in the country, by the way. On Letitia, and she keeps a lot of business out of New York, and businesses that are here are leaving. And that means jobs and a lot of revenue. Somebody's going to step in, the governor, somebody has to step in and do something because your businesses are fleeing. But on Letitia James, the money was put up, it's 175 million, and I don't think she's complaining about me for the first time ever. She's complaining about the company, but why would she be doing that when I put up the money? So I just want you to know that that's taking place in front of an extremely crazed judge, who's the most overturned judge in New York State. He was overturned 4 or 5 times on that case alone. That's, you know who it is. I don't have to mention names. I want to be nice. I want to be very nice. But a thing like that, and a thing like what's going on right here should never be happening. It's a very, very sad day in America, I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
Very sad day for America. I mean, I suppose to some extent, Daniel, he's quite adept at turning even being in court into a political sort of rallying cry. But presumably he'd much rather be out on the campaign trail rather than stuck in the courthouse.
You're exactly right. This is someone who is not, his predisposition is not to sit silently in a courtroom for weeks on end and have to listen to witnesses and prosecutors attack him. He's a billionaire, so he wants to do what he wants. And I think right now it hasn't hurt him politically. But if there's a conviction by his jury, a trial of his peers, then for a felony charge or multiple, then it becomes a real election liability, because there's a lot of Americans who say, well, I'm a little uncertain about these charges about Stormy Daniels, but we still believe in a jury system, and we might not want to send a felon to the Oval Office. It might not look very good for America.
That's interesting how that all plays out. So give us a sense then, finally, Daniel, the sort of the timeline of where we go next in the US political calendar.
So this trial is going to last for maybe 6 or to 7 weeks. They're trying to work as fast as possible. But the big thing that I'll be looking for is in a few months in the summer is the conventions and how the speeches go, and whether, particularly for Democrats, does the Gaza war, is it still happening? Because if it is, then we might see major protests in the arena and also outside in Chicago for Democrats.
I suppose that's where they start to sort of shape their election messages as well. Daniel, always good to speak to you. Daniel Lippman, White House and Washington reporter for Politico. Thanks for taking us through the state of American politics. Up next, we go from Washington